What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Thursday, November 21st, 2024, and I have an emergency alert to share with you guys. Right now, it is 15:21 Eastern Time here in the United States, and we have some major breaking news coming in from Eastern Europe. So, last night, Russia attacked Ukraine with an ICBM for the first time as a response to Ukraine using Western long-range missiles to strike deep inside of Russia. And this was the first time that ICBMs have ever been used in combat in the history of mankind. And Putin said that Russia reserves the right to strike Western countries in the future that continue to provide weapons to Ukraine to strike inside of Russian territory. We also heard U.S. nuclear bombers this afternoon authenticating with Barksdale Air Force Base and Stratcom and getting weapons authorization codes, at least one stealth bomber with the call sign Death 11 and two B-52 bombers with the call signs Doom 11 and Doom 12 were authenticating and getting weapons authorization codes, and I have an audio clip of that I'm going to share with you guys. This is why you got to watch the 24/7 streams so you can hear these things happening in real time, okay? I do have my own radio system with my own antenna so I can listen to the nuclear forces here in the US and worldwide. And the ICBM that the Russians launched at Ukraine last night was an RS-26 Rubezh. Just like I told you guys in my update yesterday, okay, I told you that this missile system was on the move and that the Russians were planning to launch it at Ukraine. People said I was fear-mongering. People said it was fake news. And we were live all night last night for like 8 hours covering this in real time. And this channel was probably one of the first channels to report that Russia used an ICBM on Ukraine. Right around 3 or 3:30 a.m. is when the news was confirmed by the Ukrainian Air Force, and we broke that news live at 3:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Okay, this is extremely serious. This is history being made here, okay? And the missile that was used against Ukraine was launched from the Astrakhan area, from Kapustin Yar, and it had like 6 warheads. They were non-nuclear warheads, and what you're looking at is footage of those warheads landing on this target in Ukraine in the city of Dnipro. So rather than striking Kiev, the capital, they chose to hit some industrial target in Dnipro, which is a city in eastern Ukraine. It's kind of an industrial city. So this was clearly a warning shot from Putin, okay, rather than striking downtown Kyiv like intelligence was pointing to. Okay, that's why the U.S. evacuated their embassy and closed the embassy down, was because they had information and intelligence that Russia was going to launch this missile at Ukraine. They saw the launchers on the satellite, okay? And so they closed the embassies down. Multiple countries closed their embassies, but instead of hitting the capital, they hit some random industrial city in eastern Ukraine. And this was clearly a warning, okay? And Putin made a televised statement. I'm going to read to you the official statement, the things that he said in this televised statement, okay? But he's basically saying that if the West continues to supply these weapons to Ukraine and Ukraine continues to strike Russian territory with them, they're going to use this missile, which has a hypersonic glide vehicle that can basically circumvent any missile defense or air defense system. It flies at 27 times the speed of sound, and it can maneuver in its terminal stage. And so they could use this to strike countries in Europe that are supplying Ukraine. They could use this to strike Ukraine again. They could even put nuclear warheads on it, okay? This has the option of nuclear or non-nuclear warheads. These are hypersonic glide vehicles, okay? So this is very, very concerning. Putin basically has a weapon that he can use to penetrate any air defense, and he can do so with conventional warheads, okay? And Politico is now reporting that Biden may authorize the use of Tomahawk missiles for strikes on the territory of the Russian Federation. Okay, so Biden may give Ukraine Tomahawk missiles now, even after this warning shot from Russia, okay? So let me just play this audio for you of the stealth bomber and two B-52s authenticating and getting weapons authorization codes earlier this afternoon. So this means that our nuclear forces are potentially at DEFCON 2, okay? So the call sign for the B-2, the stealth bomber, is Death 11.
On 11175, I have you, Lima Charlie, call me over. Mainsail, Red River has you loud and clear on 11175. Break. Death 11, Doom 11, Doom 12. Red River on 11175.
So Red River is Barksdale Air Force Base. Mainsail is Stratcom Strategic Command, and then you can hear him reading off Death 11, Doom 11, and Doom 12. Okay, so that's the stealth bomber and the two B-52s.
Mainsail, Red River has you loud and clear on 11175. Break. Death 11, Doom 11, Doom 12. Red River on 11175. Red River, Death 11 on 11175.
So that was just the stealth bomber. You could hear the drone noise in the background from the bomber. Okay, so that was one of the crew members of the bomber. He's confirming that he got the message.
Red River, Death 11 on 11175.
He said Red River, Death 11 on 11175. That's the frequency, 11175.
Death 11 from Pine Tree. Green light. How copy?
Then he says Death 11 from Pine Tree. Green light. How copy? So he's giving him some kind of a green light. He's giving the stealth bomber some kind of a green light. It could be some kind of a weapons authorization or to start some kind of a mission, but this is extremely rare. This is actually the first time I've ever heard this before, okay? And then we also heard nuclear attack options going to Barksdale, and Barksdale was saying copy message. They never do that when they send out nuclear attack options. They don't reply back and say copy message. So these must have been some very important messages for them to be saying copy message. And Barksdale is U.S. Air Force Global Strike Command headquarters. So that's the entire air leg of our nuclear triad. That's their headquarters in Barksdale. That's the bombers and the silos.
Death 11, copy is green light. Time now 1900 Zulu.
So he just said, Death 11, copy, green light, time now, some Zulu time. Let's listen to that again.
1900 Zulu. One copy is green light. Time now 1900 Zulu.
1900 Zulu, so 1900 Zulu, okay?
Zoom 11 flight. Copy, green light. 1900 Zulu.
So then Doom 11, the other B-52, just said, copy, green light, 1900 Zulu. Okay, so he's also confirming that he got the green light.
That's a good copy from Red River, out.
Okay, so this is very, very serious, guys. Extremely concerning, and right now you can actually see those two B-52s airborne over Louisiana, And we also have a nuclear war command and control plane flying up to North Dakota. Looks like it's going to be flying over one of our missile fields there. And that's also very concerning because these planes have the Airborne Launch Control System. So they can launch all of our Minuteman III ICBMs from the air. So if one of these is flying over one of our missile fields, it means that they're on high alert for some kind of an escalation, and they want to have that plane on standby over the missile field in case they have to launch from the air for whatever reason. So we're definitely on very high alert, possibly at DEFCON 2, okay, which is the second highest level of readiness of the U.S. military. The only thing higher is DEFCON 1, which literally means we are in active nuclear war or active world war. Also, last night we had a nuke sniffer plane that was scrambled into the air right around the time that Russia launched that ICBM. So this is extremely serious. And here we have pictures coming out of Russia showing the contrails in the sky from these warheads or the hypersonic missile or whatever. You can see this massive contrail. It looks pretty insane. I've never seen anything like that before. So let me read to you a little bit more about what Putin said. So Putin confirmed the use of an ICBM with a hypersonic glide vehicle to strike Ukraine today. He said the missile was used with a non-nuclear warhead to strike the Yuzhmash plant in Dnipro City. He said the missile travels at a speed of 2 to 3 kilometers per second. He said that existing enemy missile defense systems cannot intercept them. He also said Russia has the right to strike those countries that allow their weapons to be used against Russian facilities, and Russia is ready for any scenario. He said the conflict in Ukraine has signs of a global dimension after attacks with long-range Western-made missiles on Russia because they cannot be launched without the help of the manufacturers. He said, from this moment, as we have repeatedly emphasized, the conflict in Ukraine, provoked earlier by the West, has acquired global characteristics. He reiterated that it is impossible to use long-range weapons on Russian territory without NATO specialists. And he said that on November 19th, 6 ATACMS missiles were used against Russian territory, and that on November 21st, Storm Shadow missiles struck targets in Kursk and Bryansk, but that Russia's air defenses shot down most of the targets. He said use of long-range weapons in Russia won't affect the outcome of the war. He said, I want to emphasize once again that the adversary's use of such weapons cannot influence the course of hostilities in the Special Military Operations Zone. Our forces are advancing successfully along the entire line of contact. All the objectives we set for ourselves will be accomplished, okay? So Putin basically defiant, okay? And Russia will respond decisively and reciprocally in the event of an escalation of aggressive actions. He said, in the case of an escalation of aggressive actions, we will respond just as decisively and reciprocally. I recommend that the ruling elites of those countries contemplating plans to use their military contingents against Russia take this seriously, he said. The Oreshnik missile system is being tested in combat conditions as a response to NATO countries' aggressive actions against Russia, Putin announced. He said, in response to the use of American and British weaponry on November 21st this year, Russian armed forces conducted a combined strike on one of Ukraine's defense industrial complex facilities. This included testing one of Russia's latest medium-range missile systems in combat conditions, in this case a ballistic missile equipped with non-nuclear hypersonic technology referred to as Oreshnik by our missile forces, Putin said in his address. Modern air defense systems cannot intercept Oreshnik missiles, which attack targets at a speed of Mach 10, about 2.5 to 3 kilometers per second. Existing modern air defense systems worldwide, including the missile defense systems created by Americans in Europe, cannot intercept such missiles. It's impossible, Putin said in his speech. Targets for further testing of Russia's newest missile systems will be chosen based on threats to the country. He said targets for engagement during further testing of our newest missile complexes will be determined based on threats to the security of the Russian Federation. He also said when selecting targets for such systems as Oreshnik on Ukrainian territory, we will ensure that civilians as well as citizens of friendly nations present in those areas are advised to leave potential danger zones in advance. This will be done openly, publicly, and out of humanitarian considerations without fear of opposition from the enemy. So very interesting that Putin is suddenly deciding to be a humanitarian, and he's going to warn civilians and warn citizens that they're going to strike these targets. But this tells me that he's planning a nuclear strike the next time. Okay, why would you warn citizens and civilians if you're just doing a conventional strike? Russia always launches conventional strikes on Ukraine, and they never warn Ukraine. So why suddenly now would he warn civilians and citizens? Because he's planning to use nukes next time, and nukes have a much larger damage radius, and so he wants to warn everybody and say, listen, you're going to need to get out of this city, or you're going to need to move at least 20 miles away from the missile defense site in Poland because we're going to strike it with a hypersonic nuclear warhead. So I think that that's probably Putin's next target, is the missile defense complex in northern Poland. Okay, he obviously wants to test it and see if he can actually shoot down. He probably wants to see how good that missile defense system is, and what's the best way to test it than to launch hypersonic warheads at it. Okay, but this is extremely concerning, guys. Putin showing no fear of NATO or the West, saying that they will strike any country, NATO or non-NATO country, with these special hypersonic warheads that can penetrate any missile defense system. This was clearly a warning to the West. And last night, there was a nationwide ballistic missile warning in Ukraine, which never happens, and that was one of the major signs telling us that something was about to go down. And we also got reports yesterday evening that there were active launchers in Astrakhan in Russia, okay, mobile Icbm launchers, and many channels were claiming that that was fake news, and it turned out that it was actually true. And also there were some very strange movements of Russian strategic aircraft last night during this Icbm strike. They did launch like several cruise missiles at the same time, but their movements were very weird, and that was another sign that something was about to go down. Maybe they were doing that to confuse the Ukrainian air defense. I have no idea. There were also some Telegram channels in the capital of Ukraine, in Kyiv and Lviv, telling people to evacuate due to fears of a nuclear retaliation after the Storm Shadow missile strikes in Russia. And the U.S. Pentagon press secretary said this afternoon that the U.S. was notified by Russia 30 minutes before the strike, but then the Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov denied that and said that that was not true. No warning was given by Russia to the U.S., and no warning is required. He said Russia did not send advance notifications to the United States or other countries about the use of the Oreshnik hypersonic missile on a Ukrainian military industrial facility, as there are no such obligations. Wow. And it has been determined that North Korean officers and possibly Russian officers were targeted in the attack on Russia with the Storm Shadow missiles the other day. A senior North Korean officer was reportedly killed, and a spokesman for U.S. Strategic Command, Rear Admiral Thomas Buchanan, said, if necessary, an exchange of nuclear strikes is possible on the conditions that are most acceptable to the United States. Among them is that America will continue to lead the world and retain part of its arsenal to further deter potential adversaries. So the U.S. is basically saying we're okay with limited nuclear exchanges as long as the U.S. continues to lead the world. Wow. And Russia said that they're going to provide Belarus with the necessary support in the event of an attack from the West. This was stated by the head of the Defense Committee of the Russian Parliament. And this came after the Belarusian president said that Poland, Ukraine, and Lithuania were planning to invade Belarus. And this is clearly a sign that Belarus and Russia are getting ready to actually invade Poland, Ukraine, and Lithuania. It's the other way around. And Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, and Azerbaijan still have their embassies closed in Ukraine, and they are telling their citizens to leave Ukraine immediately. We know that the embassies of the U.S., Italy, Spain, and Greece are still closed or on modified duty of some kind. And Ukraine just announced through its foreign ministry that it will not accept any peace proposal that compromises the country's territorial integrity and sovereignty. So basically, they're not going to give away any land. And the Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said Russia has published its updated nuclear doctrine. I hope it will be well read. And a spokesman for the French Foreign Ministry refused to reveal the number of Scalp missiles delivered to Ukraine. Interesting, they're probably afraid. And in Germany, preparations are beginning for the event of a war that will have an even more direct impact than the Russian invasion of Ukraine, according to FAS. The German army has recently been confronting the possibility of an emergency on the basis of Operations Plan Germany, decided on by politicians. So Germany enacting some kind of war plan, and air defenses will be strengthened at the Hungarian-Ukrainian border. This was stated by the defense minister of Hungary, and they made this decision over there because of the expansion of the war in Ukraine. The Hungarian defense minister Krzysztof Szalai Bobrovnicki announced the installation of air defense systems near the border with Ukraine. He said, to prepare for all options, I have ordered the installation of recently purchased air traffic control and air defense systems in the Northeast, he said after a meeting of the Defense Council. And we also had massive reconnaissance activity in Poland last night. Here you can see a British reconnaissance plane patrolling northern Poland and Lithuania around Kaliningrad. There was also this Russian VIP plane that flew from Moscow to Minsk. Very interesting. Probably some kind of Russian minister, probably the Russian defense minister maybe, or some other kind of high-level VIP. And then we had this U.S. Air Force reconnaissance drone patrolling northern Poland at the same time all night last night. We also had a NATO AWACS plane patrolling northern Poland. And what's interesting is it was flying close to that missile defense site in northern Poland, so potentially keeping an eye on any Russian missiles heading towards it. And what's interesting is it looks like the Polish president's doomsday plane was scrambled into the air last night, and it was doing touch and goes in northeastern Poland near one of these major NATO bases here in Olsztyn. So it looks like the Polish president took to the sky on his doomsday plane, potentially out of fear that Russia was going to strike Warsaw with these missiles. And then here's more reconnaissance. You can see a Swedish reconnaissance plane patrolling the eastern and northern border of Poland, and also this U.S. reconnaissance plane patrolling northern Poland and the Baltics. Very, very concerning, all this reconnaissance here. And then we had a French reconnaissance plane here as well. So, guys, I'm going to continue to monitor the situation. I do have my 24/7 stream up right now. You should come in and listen to the nuclear forces. Okay, we have our stealth bombers and our nuclear bombers on high alert right now, getting a green light for something. Okay, Putin making history, launching an Icbm in combat for the first time ever against Ukraine, and Ukraine is now requesting Tomahawk missiles. okay, which can literally reach probably St. Petersburg, okay, from Russia, from Ukraine. So I will be back later with another update, possibly. If not, I will be updating live in the live stream, okay, in the 24/7 stream. Follow me on Telegram and Twitter. The links to my Telegram and Twitter are in the description below this video. And until the next time, take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 Ps: prepare, practice, and persevere.